Labour's shocking Christmas crisis. Just as families across Britain prepare for the festive season, Labour's decision to slash the winter fuel payment scheme has left millions of pensioners struggling to make ends meet. The fallout is severe, with some elderly citizens saying they're now forced to choose between staying warm or celebrating Christmas. Chancellor Rachel Reeves announced the cuts back in July, but the real-world consequences are just starting to emerge, and they're devastating. And now, check out this clip of a struggling pensioner sharing their heartbreaking story of a frugal, scaled-back Christmas.
I'm saving it for my winter fuel because I'm a pensioner now. Thanks to the government.
I think I just kind of spread it out a bit, so I've spent pretty much the same.
Quite early, so I think being able to do that was useful, and but about the same, I think.
I feel my children are quite older now, so the large amount of gifts not quite the same. They don't want much, so it should be quite an easy one for us.
Pensioner saying, "I'm saving the money for my winter fuel because of my pension, thanks to the government." As the clip reveals, the impact of Labour's decision is undeniable. The winter fuel payment scheme, once a vital lifeline for millions of pensioners, has been reduced, with 10 million elderly Britons now losing out on up to £300 annually. For those living on fixed incomes, that money was the difference between shivering through the winter or staying warm. Now, with energy bills soaring and inflation taking its toll, pensioners are being forced to make impossible choices. One pensioner, speaking with GB News, said, "I'm holding back on Christmas shopping. I'm saving everything I can for my winter fuel. It's tough, but what else can I do?" These words paint a bleak picture of what should be a joyful time of year. Instead of enjoying the season, many older Britons are facing a cold and lonely holiday. The decision to cut the winter fuel payment scheme was defended by Labour as a necessary measure to address a £22 billion hole in the public finances. Rachel Reeves called it a tough but unavoidable choice, while Sir Keir Starmer shifted the blame to previous Tory governments, accusing them of avoiding hard decisions about the rising costs of energy support. But these explanations provide little comfort to those directly affected. Adding to the complexity, the new criteria for receiving winter fuel payments require pensioners to be on means-tested benefits like pension credit. This means millions of elderly people who don't qualify for these benefits are now excluded, leaving many struggling in silence. The ripple effects are being felt far beyond pensioners' homes. Retailers are already describing this season as a cautious Christmas, with spending patterns reflecting widespread financial insecurity. Despite predictions of £3 billion being spent this weekend, many shoppers are scaling back. Some are spreading their purchases across months to soften the blow, while others are cutting back on the number of gifts they buy altogether. One shopper explained, "I just kind of spread out the shopping and did it quite early, so I think being able to do that was useful." Another, noting changes in family dynamics, said, "I think my children are quite a bit older now, so the large amount of gifts isn't quite the same. It should be quite an easy one for me." But these stories of adaptation can't hide the fact that many Britons are struggling to cope with the rising cost of living. Analysts have coined this a cautious Christmas, as high energy bills and low consumer confidence create a perfect storm of financial strain. Diane Wehler, founder of Rendell Intelligence and Insights, described the atmosphere as one of restraint, with many prioritising essentials over festive luxuries. Labour has tried to frame the cuts as a hard but necessary step to fix the country's finances. Reeves emphasised the need for fiscal discipline, but critics argue that these cuts disproportionately target the most vulnerable. For pensioners, the choice between heating their homes and celebrating the holidays feels like an unfair burden to bear. Social media has erupted with backlash against the decision. One Twitter user wrote, "Labour just stole Christmas from our pensioners. Shameful." Another added, "How can a party that claims to stand for the working class turn its back on the elderly?" This is unforgivable. Even within Labour's own ranks, dissent is growing. Some MPs privately worry that the cuts could alienate older voters, a key demographic for Labour, particularly in areas where the party is already fighting off challenges from the Tories and the rising Reform UK. Whispers of unease are spreading through Westminster, with some speculating that the backlash could hurt Labour's chances in the next general election. As the controversy unfolds, it's worth considering the broader implications of this decision. Pensioners, often living on fixed incomes, are among the most vulnerable to rising costs. Energy prices have surged in recent years, with many households already struggling to keep up. Removing such a crucial lifeline during the winter months feels like a cruel twist of fate for those who have contributed to society for decades. The timing of the cuts is also deeply problematic. With December bringing some of the coldest temperatures of the year, many elderly Britons are facing the prospect of living in freezing homes. Charities and advocacy groups have warned of the health risks associated with cold living conditions, particularly for the elderly, who are more susceptible to illnesses like hypothermia and pneumonia. Meanwhile, Labour continues to defend its position, insisting that these tough decisions are necessary to restore stability to the nation's finances. But for pensioners like the one featured in the clip, the justification falls flat. Their reality is one of sacrifice and struggle, not balance sheets and budgetary concerns. To make matters worse, the financial strain isn't limited to pensioners. The entire economy is feeling the pinch, with consumer confidence at a low and retailers scrambling to adjust to the changing landscape. The combination of high energy costs, inflation, and reduced disposable income has created a perfect storm that's reshaping the holiday season for millions of Britons. Even beyond the pensioners affected by this cut, there is a growing sense that Labour's decision is part of a larger problem in how governments, whether Labour or Conservative, handle the cost of living crisis. The public isn't just frustrated by this one policy, they're questioning whether either party is truly capable of providing solutions to the financial struggles gripping the country. This growing frustration is beginning to manifest in tangible ways. Recent polling has shown a dip in Labour's lead, as critics argue that the party's policies are out of touch with working-class and elderly voters. While Labour claims it's making tough but necessary decisions, the optics of cutting support during a cost-of-living crisis are disastrous. For pensioners, it feels less like a necessary sacrifice and more like a betrayal. Some political analysts warn that this could be a tipping point for Labour, particularly if the party fails to mitigate the fallout from this decision. The elderly vote is a critical demographic, and public backlash against this policy could have far-reaching consequences for Labour's chances in the next general election. In the meantime, millions of pensioners are left to face a harsh winter with fewer resources and growing uncertainty about what the future holds. For them, this isn't just about politics, it's about survival. As they cut back on holiday celebrations and brace for colder months, the sense of abandonment is palpable. The fallout from this decision is likely to continue well into the new year, with Labour facing mounting pressure to address the consequences of its actions. In the meantime, millions of pensioners are left to navigate a holiday season that's anything but merry. If you want to stay updated on this developing story and all the latest twists and turns in UK politics, don't forget to hit subscribe, give us a like and stay tuned for more. We'll be bringing you every scandalous detail as it happens.